As you'll see in your program, I'm delighted to welcome familiar faces Cheryl, Kim, and Jacqueline up to the stage.
So Kim and I wanted to start today by thanking the team from Calgary for being such wonderful hosts. So we can maybe give everybody a round of applause. We really appreciate that. And today, Kim and I are going to be presenting our reflections on learning and performance. And just to get started, we wanted to share a bit of our journey together. So Kim and I met at a community research presentation in 2018. And we quickly realized that we shared a number of interests, and we had a number of perspectives and commonalities that we wanted to share and discuss. And so that's turned into presentations with different research groups, community groups, as well as she's a regular guest lecturer and discussant in my classes, which has been absolutely wonderful. The other element that we wanted to share is that we never sit still for meetings. We don't even try, which I appreciate. And so we have our meetings in a multi-purpose room or a dance studio, and we move and we talk and we reflect, and we also flip things around. So as we'll see a little bit more as we go through this presentation, is that Kim has been teaching me some Irish dance over the past couple of years, and so I've been trying to be a good student and working hard.
You have been, though, Cheryl. You've been a remarkable student, and your ballet background, as we continue your training, will definitely serve you well.
Yeah. And the other piece of that we wanted to highlight as we move into this presentation is that movement is more than exercise and physical activity. Movement is very social, and movement also encompasses our communication as well. And so we just wanted to bring that perspective as we go forward with our presentation. So for today's talk, we're going to be sharing our perspectives on athletics in the context of Asperger's, and this is our outline. And I'm going to now turn it over to Kim to share some of her perspectives on the fitness apps that she uses.
Sure. And I'm not sure if my mic is on. I can't entirely tell. So as an athlete, a dancer, and a martial artist, fitness, nutrition, and training is very important to me. I have 3 dominant apps that I use to help maintain my fitness level and my nutrition. The first one I'm going to highlight here that you would have seen in the tech room yesterday is Body Space. Body Space is a weight training app that I absolutely love, and lots of different programs and lots of different age levels as well. So you can enter what your fitness goals are, your age, your weight, all of that, and it'll bring up programs that are good for you. The only negative is that if you want to go past, if you want kind of more of the tricks and fun things with it, purchase is necessary, and it also doesn't count calories. The next app definitely does. One I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with is the MyFitnessPal app. This one's really good for tracking calories. You can also track your water and your exercise. Good tip with this app, if you are tracking using this app, put your exercise in first, because that really will then tell you how many calories you fully have to work with. You can add recipes here, so if there's recipes that you make a lot, you can stick them right in there, tell it what the ingredients are, how many it serves, and it will tell you how many calories per serving. It's compatible with a lot of the fitness devices, including the Fitbit that I'm wearing. The only negative is that it's not very diverse in terms of exercises. So because of the style of dance that I do, I have to double the number of minutes in the regular dancing that's in there. So the third app, which I'm going to keep really brief, is the Tasty app. Now, this has really expanded the nutrition and the variance in what I eat, and it is really wonderful. Good trick with this app: use the tips section. Look at what other people are saying if they've made it. Sometimes the ingredients are difficult to find, but that's about the only issue. This app has absolutely everything from snacks to desserts, and can be made vegan, gluten-free, and all of that. So it's really fun.
Yeah, it's got a really nice variety. So as we move on to the next section, just like technology and other innovations can be hybrid, the apps are also a way to connect from the virtual fitness world into the three-dimensional, as I like to call it, world of fitness. And so Kim is going to share some of her reflections at the Refit Center.
So the Refit Center is a fantastic facility in Winnipeg, Manitoba. It is Canada's only medically certified fitness facility. So while they are a public gym, they are licensed also to do things such as cardiac rehab, physical therapy, physiotherapy, athletics, all of that. What I love the most about the refit is the staff are very supportive. They're always accessible. They're always around the fitness desk. So if you need help, you know, if you just want a walking partner on the track, if you've got, you know, a piece of equipment that you're learning that's brand new, that's really, really, you know, you really want to learn, they're good at demonstrating that. Or if, as I did here, this is actually Marcy Manis. Marcy is the program director at the refit, and in this case, I asked her for a spot on the weights. One of the other staff took that photo, but I think I have about 65 pounds on that bar, and that is actually my heaviest post-COVID weight that I lifted at that point. So they also recognize that exercise is much more than physical. They actually do have a mind-body studio where they do all the yoga. Really, really wonderful. And what I also like is that they're willing to support, as Cheryl says here, variations on normal protocol. So in the winter, when I can't take the sword out, like not the actual sword, but what we call the bokan, the wooden sword, outside for martial arts, they will sometimes let me practice upstairs in the smaller fitness studio. So there's a couple of cons with this. It's negligible, really. They are missing a couple of classes that I really did enjoy. The Simply Stretch is one of them. All of you have gone through at least one stretching session with me yesterday. You will go through a second one today with me. Both sessions were designed with the staff, with the help from the staff at the refit, so they have been absolutely fantastic.
Okay, thank you. So for the next section, I'm going to share some of the reflections and some of the commonalities from the research in motor control and motor learning, looking across a variety of tasks and a variety of ages and individual characteristics. And so I just wanted to go back to the idea that movement is also a form of communication and a way that we interact with one another. And so this is one of my favorite quotes from a very famous in the world of motor development. And many people here may be familiar with this quote as well. People perceive in order to move, and move in order to perceive. What then is movement but a form of perception, a way of knowing the world as well as acting on it? So a reminder that we can't separate those sensory and perceptual experiences from movement, and that the perception and action within our world are integrated. And so this very much shapes the ways in which we're looking at how we're performing and practicing different skills. And we know that individuals with autism are more than capable of learning a wide variety of motor skills, and we're going to see some great examples of that as we go through. But we also know that across different ages and different tasks, that there are unique ways in which people plan, perform these different movements. So we need more time to process the information to prepare that plan. Another common finding across different studies is a shift in how we use what we call feed-forward information and feedback information. And so what that's referring to is when we get ready to move, we plan that movement, and we have a memory for what that movement should feel like, should look like, and we can plan ahead and make those adjustments. What we find across a variety of tasks is that autistic individuals use a more feedback-based approach. So they start to move, and then they use the sensory information to update their movements. Another area related to that, and that's again common across different ages and different tasks, is a difference in how sensory information is interpreted. And so we have lots of, as we know, auditory and information from our body and visual information. And autistic individuals tend to put more emphasis on that information coming from their body. So their proprioceptive information from their muscles, their vestibular system, seems to be more relevant to how they're interacting in the world. Sorry. That's why usually they just take that away from me. All right, fair enough. See, I was worried about being too far away. All right, I'll back up. Sorry, Dean. People, both as they're controlling their movements, as well as the way in which movements are remembered, seem to be based more in that memory for proprioception. And so this is a reminder that we need to consider how we're providing instructions, how we're structuring our practice, and also rethinking the ways in which we provide feedback, and not simply taking what we have from the motor learning literature, from neurotypical population, and saying, let's plunk that on the best practice onto our autistic community. Instead, we need to step back and look at some of those unique ways. And one example I wanted to share was work done by a colleague, Spencer Hayes, in the UK. And their group has shown that autistic individuals can imitate both typical and atypical, what we call kinematic patterns, or ways of producing a movement on a tablet. And so they can learn these new coordination patterns, but they learn these novel patterns when practice is presented in a predictable way that they can repeat and get lots of practice over time. And this is different from what we see from the neurotypical literature. So just one concrete example that we need to reflect on using best practice for teaching motor skills, but we need to adapt the ways in which we do that so that we're doing it in ways that help people learn using the sensory information and using the instructions that are beneficial for them. And so I wanted to share, this is a model that I share with my motor development class, and many of you, again, will be familiar if that's an area that you're teaching and working in. And it's Newell's model of constraints. And before we get into the details of the model, I just wanted to share about the definition of constraints, because the word con in English we tend to think is a bad thing. But in this model, constraints are things that shape our behavior or shape our movement. So I have a picture of one of our rivers from Winnipeg. And those riverbanks are crucial for shaping the water and shaping where it's going. And so constraints are neither positive nor negative in this model, but they're seen as what's shaping the movements and the behavior that we're seeing. And what I like about this model is it asks us to reflect on the individual and their unique characteristics. It asks us to reflect on the environment that they're currently in. And those things may change over time, and so we need to continue to update what is happening. But as an instructor of motor skills, whether we're thinking about physical therapy, whether we're thinking about kinesiology or physical education, is that task constraints are the things that I can change in the moment and that is part of my planning and things that I need to do. So task constraints can be anything from the instructions to how the rules are designed, to the equipment that we're using. So a common example that we look is, we don't ask our kindergarten class to shoot a full-size basketball to a full-size net. It doesn't make sense. We adjust the task, we adjust the equipment, and we also adjust the rules in order to facilitate that movement. And so I encourage us to use this model and think about how we're designing our different motor skill activities, because it allows us to think and make them individual to this context for that person or for that particular environment. So the environment includes both the physical environment, the weather as well as the social cultural environment. So things like if you have friends or family members or playing soccer at recess is really popular at your school, you're probably going to end up playing more soccer and developing more soccer skills than perhaps playing hockey if there's no hockey being played at recess. Individual constraints also are both physical, how strong we are, and that again changes over time, but also our motivations. And then, as I said, task constraints includes a variety of things as well. And so we wanted to share this example of how sensory information can interact in different ways. And so this was an unplanned capture of a video, which we're very grateful that Jackie had the camera rolling already. And Kim and I were getting ready to practice and do some work and record some of the work that we're doing that you might get a preview of in a few minutes. But this was an example of how those memories can connect. And so the song was one that Kim had done, but this is a step that is extremely difficult to do. As a dancer myself, anytime your feet have to move that fast, it is not easy. But it's also one that Kim has a very clear memory from an injury that made it very difficult to want to practice it. But in this moment, so in this environment and in this context, the music brought back the memory for how to perform that movement. So I'll share our clip here, and I'll step back, Dean. I'm probably close again.
I still, honestly, Cheryl, I still cannot believe it had been at that point over 10 years since I had been able to do that step properly. The step in here is called a flutter. That particular dance is a slip jig. For those who are musically trained, this is 9/8 timing, and it is one of the most difficult dances. This is what we refer to in Irish dancing as a high-risk step. In other words, one step where dancers are very, very likely to get hurt. This is one where we get a lot of injuries.
Oops. So just like we talked about movement and sensory information being really critical, the planning and different sensory experiences also extends beyond motor skills. And so we wanted to share some of this information. Kim, did you want to speak here? Or do you want me to do this one?
Take the lead on this, Cheryl, and
Okay.
I will step in, especially on the top end. This was, when I discovered this was a very frightening statistic for me. As somebody currently struggling with disordered eating myself, this particular information was a little bit of a back-ended comfort, because it was a comfort to know I wasn't actually on my own dealing with this. I had been fighting, I realize now, with disordered eating for several years, and it was frightening to finally have realized that only a year ago. But eating disorders are 4 to 5 times more common in the autism and Asperger's community than in the neurotypical community. 4 to 5 times is a huge, huge, huge number.
Yeah, so we wanted to share this as a reminder that these differences in planning and sensory experiences when we're talking about physical activity and exercise extend beyond what sometimes we're thinking about in that immediate context. So it's really important to think about that big picture. And so we want to leave you with a few keep in minds. One theme, hopefully you've been able to connect here, is that exercise is physical, mental, emotional, and can also be very social. And so we really enjoyed the presentations talking yesterday about the idea that we don't need to separate out exercise and social skills. Let's put it together, because that makes it fun and makes it much easier for us to build into our lives.
It does. The other thing that's important, as you've discovered in the stretching sessions, is to also make sure that you get mental exercise as well. Whether you're sketching, whether you're doing fine arts, whether you're journaling, whether you're meditating, doesn't matter. But literally mix it up. It's that old rule: if you can't make a recipe if you only have half the ingredients. Like, really.
Yeah. I don't think we need to sell this crowd on this, but looking outside of this room and this symposium, is that any new technology or program should be diverse and inclusive. And in particular, that helps us reduce the risk of it causing frustration or lack of use, because people don't see themselves in that opportunity.
Or aren't able to find the correct sport. The bottom end is probably the most critical in here to realize. Variety is definitely the key. As you found out with one of the apps, it's good, but it's missing a lot of the different dance styles and martial arts styles, including both that I do. So any, as Cheryl said, any technology or program should also include as many different styles of sports, dancing, martial arts as possible when it's being designed. Being people with a need for a lot of detail, we will go looking for that.
Yes. All right, so Kim has a few special thanks, and then we have a gift for you that we'll share.
The 3 stores listed in here all provided a really supportive sensory experience when I was shopping in preparation for this conference. The refit was invaluable. Without them, I'm not sure on my end that it would have gone down quite as well as it did. Whelan McGuinness Music Group, the track in here is called Heartland. It is the first part of the finale out of Riverdance. And I didn't want to plagiarize. Being a university student, that's a big no-no, as I'm sure most of you have probably realized. I contacted them and asked for permission, and got the shock of my living life when I got a positive answer back. So it was funny. We've taken dancing, especially Irish dancing and autism, to a much higher level more recently. The Leinster Championships were held just back in March, and the young lady who won the 9 and under category is also autistic. So we have taken this disability from right in this room and taken it through the roof, and hopefully that's what we'll continue to do.
Exactly.
So personal thanks from me go to my counselor, Kaylin Roy. Unique Peace Counseling is his business. He has been a gift, and without him, I am not sure I'd probably be standing here. He's been an enormous help.
Yeah. So we have a couple of gifts to share with you. The first is a QR code. I am new to this idea, so if it doesn't work, I have the link for you. I tested it and it worked on my phone. is a blog that Kim has prepared especially for this group with lots of insights as well as a number of tasty recipes, so I highly recommend it. And then also, as I said, we like to multitask in our meetings, so not just talk about motor skills and fitness and autism, but...
This is the rule of practice what you preach.
Exactly. So we have a short dance here to share with you.
I still can't believe we got that last step right on that one, Cheryl.
So thank you, everybody. I'm not sure if we have time for a few questions. We do? Okay. Thank you. I hope we were able to share how much fun communication and social time that movement really can be.
Let me make sure I have my headset back in order.
Awesome. So all done.
Thank you for your presentation. This may be a simple question. What does medically certified mean as it relates to a fitness center?
Medically certified for the refit means that they are licensed to provide on-site support, so like CPR, first aid, and to do more than that until the ambulance gets there. So it's like first aid, but a lot more than that. They actually have that's a very basic definition, but they have a lot more detailed definition of what it is actually on their website.
Yeah, so they're a public gym, but they offer cardiac rehab and stroke rehab as well. So they have a number of medical professionals integrated into, but like I can sign up and anybody can go to the gym, but they also offer a number of on-site rehabilitation programs.
Cheryl, I'm going to actually answer a question that got asked quite a while back from Homa. Homa she and I had been chit-chatting, and there was one particular either photograph or video I had sent her, and she was extremely curious. She was very curious to learn how to do that, and I had to laugh because the step in question, you're dancing anywhere from 4 to 6 years before you actually learn the step. In Irish dancing, you dance at least 6 months to a year before you get your slippers, and a year or more before you're in your hard shoes. The step in question is another good one that could have been put in where that motor and musical step is. And the step in question is a toe stand. And it very much is exactly that. You are standing right on the top of your toes and turning. And it is extremely difficult, much like in ballet when you're in point shoes. You're right on the ends of your toes. But that step is very advanced. It is another step where you are extremely high risk for getting hurt.
Yeah, the question's going to come to me, but this is to Kim and Cheryl, but it's in regards to, like, we just sat through this whole virtual reality session and we talk about social skills, communication, and relationships. So I guess both of your perspectives, what do you think about, like, dance, exercise when in virtual reality, and I feel like there's not that opportunity for social skills. I'm just curious to get both of your perspectives if we put something like that on.
Do you want to go first, Kim, or do you want?
After you, Cheryl.
So I think that we have to get rid of the idea that there's going to be one perfect solution. So some people are going to love VR, and if that motivates them to do the activities and stay engaged, then great. For other people, it's not going to work. So for me, some of the things that are missing from VR are that touch, so that communication. In particular for me, dance is really wonderful for that, martial arts, in that you're moving with other people. You have that feeling of moving together, and virtuality can create some of that feeling, but some of that physical contact. We certainly, there are tremendous advances in prosthetics and orthotics in allowing some of that feeling, and certainly the technology is growing. But I think there's some of that reality. And for me, also timing-wise, I find any technology difficult because the spatial temporal relationships change. And not to say, again, that technology isn't improving, but I like to keep it simple, whatever possible.
I would also speak to that. When COVID hit, we definitely did the kind of the virtual reality, not really the virtual thing, but my instructor was training the dancers on Zoom. Mm-hmm. For me as a dancer with a sensory disability, that platform absolutely did not work. I also found like there's a lot of sound lag, a lot of time lag. So it's not that we couldn't do it in VR, and there are groups that are doing that, but for me, some dance styles I think would work with VR, and I don't think this is one of them.
Got a question from the online community. Muhammad says, thank you for your amazing presentation. Is there any literature regarding the relationship between sensory regulation demands in people with ASD and participation in physical activity?
Yes. I don't have all the references at top. The way my brain works, I can see the papers, but not the, yes, and that is one of the things also with repetitive behaviors. So interspersing that, and in particular that physical activity and that connection there. But absolutely, that is a growing understanding of that connection.
Great presentation, really enjoyed it. One of the things that I know from some of my own work is that many people with ASD or persons with autism can have some pretty significant motor challenges.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah.
And those motor challenges can impact how, their engagement in any type of physical activity, dance, just even riding a bicycle, whatever. So how do we get past that? What do we need to do to, make physical activity, engagement in physical activity more fun so that people will become engaged, so people with ASD will become engaged? What do we need to do right at that basic level?
I would say the biggest thing, like with my dance instructor, and actually with at least one other school in Winnipeg, the McConnell School of Irish Dance offers both recreational. So what we need to do is we need to provide, especially with dancing, I think a lot of people find dancing more from a competitive end, and don't realize that with a lot of sports, especially styles like Irish and Highland being probably the two most dominant, there's definitely a recreational end. And I think it's a combination of knowing that there's both ends of that. So knowing that you don't have to compete. You can do this strictly for fun. Once we get out of the competition mentality, the other thing is to make sure that the instructor is like really good. I was with another school in Winnipeg for about 6 months and ended up leaving because that particular instructor not only was what I would call disability challenged massively, he also did not have good people skills as well. So we ran, it was like a double-ended sword, and I just went, no, let's make like Michael Jackson and beat it. Yeah. Which was exactly what we did. I met my current instructor. I was in high school, and I was actually practicing for a talent show where I was dancing slip jig, which is the same sound that you heard in the what I call the accidental flutter clip. And I didn't realize I was being watched, and she said, that was brilliant, but let's see what happens if you get just a little bit more flex of the knee. I didn't give much. I must have got about another 2 inches of height off the floor. And I already had about 8 inches, so I went almost a foot vertically off the floor, and that scared the daylights out of me. I wasn't ready for that kind of height, but what I was ready for was an instructor with a lot more understanding of the challenges of dealing with a disability. One of the things that I would say I find is, for me as a dancer, the other part of this has been the mental journey. The mental recovery takes a lot longer, and that's where you need an instructor who can realize that as well. If you can't get the step right away, it's not because you don't want to, it's because your brain's saying, no, 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 don't do that, or you're going to get hurt again. And you need to teach your brain how to button up and be quiet.
Kim already kind of led to this, but we consult with a lot of professionals and about the F word, fun, and exercise and autism. And the way I put it is, exercise isn't fun, right? If it was, at least in the United States, I'll speak for the United States, we wouldn't have we wouldn't have the obesity epidemic that we have, right? It is a challenge. It's a challenge for anyone, let alone a person who has motor difficulties, sensory challenges. But so I think, like what Kim said, is it's all about the instructor. They're the one that's going to make it fun, right, for the individuals, whether they have autism or whether they're neurotypical. But that is, I think, the key to the fun, because the YMCA's,
is the instructor.
We talk to them all the time, and they just think, oh, we're going to say autism and fun and promote that. As quick as those kids or those families may come, the parents are going to leave twice as fast, or the individuals, if they know the person isn't trained, right, to understand the disability, or if they're in it just for the financial motivation. They need to be educated, and that's the key, I think, to fun and fitness.
Yeah, I think physical activity can absolutely be fun, and I think that's the key to solving that, is that instead of saying that the gym is the answer and everybody needs to go to the gym, I actually never go to the gym, is that we need to help people find the things they like, just like we need to find the food we like. We need to find the other interests and activities that we enjoy. We don't say everybody should read the same books. We find the books that we can like. And so I think, and we're seeing that a lot from our psychology, our social psychology colleagues, like really looking into what people's interests. But I think connecting that with the instructors. So I know in the Rehab Center for Children and some of the other pediatric groups in Winnipeg, there's lots of discussion in those like communication networks of where do the dance schools to go to, who's the martial arts instructor, what sport program is really good. And so we need both specialized programming, but also that community program, because we need variety. And I think the more opportunities we can have for people to engage in that through their training, through our undergraduate and graduate programs, but also ongoing professional development is really key to that. I think, but that instructor piece is crucial.
It is. It's extremely critical. So, like another very good example of talking to the instructor is the McConnell School of Irish Dance. It's actually the oldest Irish dancing schools in Canada. They are extremely good. They offer recreational classes. They have classes. They have students with special needs right in the classes. They also integrate them into both the competitive and recreational sides of that. But what they do is the instructors will modify a lot of the dancing. So like they may be able to get the flutter, they may not get the height. So what they'll do is they'll take another step where that dancer is really good at it. And sometimes that step is what gets that dancer, if they're competitors, what gets them higher marks in the competition, or, something of that particular nature.
Kim, our coffee is here.
Okay.
Would you be up for doing a stretch before we send everybody off for coffee?
Let's stretch this crew out and get them on their feet and flying. So what I am going to do, though, Cheryl, it's a safety thing on my end, because I am definitely in a set of shoes that most people would probably recognize, even if they're not ready for it. I am going to switch my shoes out, because the last thing I want is to end up on the skating rink, because that's very much what this will feel like.
No problem. So while Kim switches her shoes, first of all, thank you both so much for that fantastic presentation. So we're going to do a little bit of shuffling in our program, just because we recognize that we could all use a stretch and coffee break right now. We've been sitting for a minute.
Now, here's the other kicker. Look at my socks on this one, Cheryl.
So while Kim changes her shoes, we're going to move into a stretch break and then tea and coffee. And then we're just going to move a couple of our programming elements around, starting the panel at around 11:15, 11:20. But as always, we will always keep lunch on time, because we don't want any.
I hope
we don't want any hanger.
No.
Great. You're welcome to talk amongst yourselves while Kim gets ready, and then we'll stretch it out.
Thanks, darling. Yeah, it did. The dress rehearsal last night was a big help. All right, let's do this. All right, so let's get everybody on their feet for this one. We're going to need a little bit of space, so make sure you are well spaced out. That said, welcome to our second stretch session. Again, my name is Kim. I'm going to be leading the session today. I have Cheryl and I have Jackie with me. So we're going to take a slightly different approach to this stretch session. As you guys realized, we were on our feet and flying in the last one. So this stretch session is going to follow a little bit more of what would be typical for me after a dance class. So, sure. There we go. Now we've got it. Positioning problems, that works. So a couple of quick rules as we get started. If you have any type of a heart issue, keep your head above your heart. If you have asthma or any breathing issues, make sure to breathe deeply, but not so deeply that you're uncomfortable. That said, what we're going to do is we're going to start by putting our spine in neutral. And a neutral spine is really important. So to do that, take your feet about hip width apart. And as you do that, pull your belly button in towards your spine. And what you'll find is this will actually straighten your back. It will feel a lot more comfortable. And we're going to keep our spine there throughout the stretch. And we're going to give just a quick shoulder roll. Just get our shoulders loosened up a little bit here. We need that one. So we're going to start with a balance exercise. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our right foot first, and we're going to line the heel of our right and the toe of our left foot up. So this is a balance exercise. That's why it's like this. I don't mind if you guys have your hands out to the side. The other option is to cross them over your chest like that. And we're just going to take our head and look right. Just nice and easy. And we're going to take it back to center. And we're going to take our head and turn left. And bring it back to center again. We're going to take our eyes and just look up to the ceiling a little bit. And we're going to bring it back to center. Option to close your eyes for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And we're going to change our feet out and do exactly the same thing with our left foot in front. And again, we're going to take our head. This time we're going to look left going first. Just giving your brain that chance not to run away on you and build a to-do list that's 1,000,000 miles long. It's really important not to do that. I'm going to bring it back to center. And we're going to take it going right. There we go. We're going to bring it back to center, and we're going to just look up to the ceiling just for a moment. And look straight ahead. Again, option to close eyes for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So we're going to step out of that position, and we're going to take our left arm. We're going to go straight up overhead. Do not put your hands on your hips. Leave your other arm straight, and just turn your head and look up. Kind of look at your fingertips, really, is where you'd be looking at. And where you're stretching with this is you're stretching along your side. This is just a nice, easy, big stretch. We're going to let go of the left. We're going to go up on the other side. And same idea. Just turning your head. And not bending yourself going this way or the other way. Just keeping your back nice and straight. Spine straight, back of the neck nice and long. We're going to bring it back. And we are going to do a couple of other exercises. One that you're familiar with already. Take your feet hip width apart. Again, bringing your belly button into your spine. This is that same stretch we did yesterday. Take hands in front. As you push down with your feet, go straight up over your head. Big, 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 big stretch. And letting go, keeping your hands up, palms up as you bring your arms out. Give a press through the shoulders to let go of that second link, and a slight flex in your knee to let go of that last one. We're going to finish with one of my favorite stretches, which is a back extension. So for this one, this is where you need a little bit of space. Take your hands, just put them, I can't really put mine on my hips because I've got the mic, but put them so that your thumb is pointed out, fingers going down, and just lean back just a little bit, only as far as you are comfortable with. Back extension is a very, very important one. It's a really, really good one for stretching, especially if you've been sitting a long time, which most of us will be. So this is kind of why I saved this one for the second day, not the first. Oh, big stretch. All right, from here, take 2 deep breaths in and out. One more time. Take a deep breath in, hands together. Bring your hands to heart center as your elbows flare out. And that finishes our second stretch session. Well done.